Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freudian Slips with Ollie and Danny.
Hello, Ollie.
Hello, Danny. I don't know why I did that voice. Have you never mind, I don't think I can say it on here. Remember that older song that was like, "You're listening to the Stylins," or it's something like that, of like DJ Easy Dick. I think
What?
that's what it's called. I think that's what it's called. My ex-boyfriend's mom loved that song.
What the hell is this?
It's a song. It was a really good old school song.
DJ Easy Dick?
I think so. I think so. I think that was it.
I'm gonna need it.
I was in high school.
I'm gonna need a reference check.
Okay,
I'm
I'll
expecting a text message by the end of the day.
DJ. Yeah, so I think I was going for his voice at the beginning. It's a great intro, but we are not DJ Easy Dick. That is for sure.
No, we are Freudian Slips.
Yeah.
Yes, this is where we talk about shrinks, kinks, and things of the mental health field. And today, you asked for it. We're going back to good advice.
Who asked for it?
No one.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, I really thought someone asked, and I was like, did we get our first email? I missed it.
You are ruining the allure.
I'm so sorry. It really was
the
good.
illusion of success.
I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I'm
This is why we
crying.
have the meetings. This is why we meet. Anyways, bad advice. That was a lot of fun. And there's a lot of really good bad advice out there. And so we decided, well, actually, you asked for it. Yeah. If you remember the last time that we did good bad advice, you said we should do a parenting one.
Yep.
Here we are.
You sold it so good, and I got so genuinely. I was like, oh my God, they're asking. The people have spoken. I'm the people. I do think this is good though, because first, oh boy, I would almost say more so than couple stuff. If I tell someone I'm a therapist, which I feel like I'd like to say I know some stuff about how I feel about what people should say or not say to their kids.
A little
But
bit.
that's probably more from being a school psychologist, or just, yeah, in general, things I like to read that I find interesting. When people find out I'm a therapist, I think I get more questions about like, ooh, what do you think about this? And it's always related to kids more
Sure.
so than like just couples or things that I like. If you is being related to therapy, that's
Mhm.
more what I work with. So I do
Mhm.
find it interesting. I get so many questions about kids.
That's really interesting. If I replay the tapes, I do often get a lot of unsolicited advice about children as well. I don't work with kids.
No, right?
I do work with a lot of couples, and a lot of them tend to be parents. But yeah, for some reason, where I see this a lot more is at school.
Yeah.
So at the university that I teach at, students love to tell me about their children and give me unsolicited parenting advice. So
Nice.
we're going to go over a few of them. Again, what is it?
An episode. You forgot that last time. This is called an episode.
No, this is a completely different stroke I'm having right now. It's a preface, a preamble,
Yeah, what, like, we'd like to preface something before we start?
caveat.
Yeah, caveat.
Okay, there we go. It's the heat. It's the heat. Caveat, preface. We'd like to preface this with, I'm sure that there's always some good in this.
Yeah.
Please, again, don't send me a rude email. Don't send me a message trying to correct me. I'm not going to read it. I hope that you're not offended by what we have to say, and that you can listen to two mental health professionals, potentially give you a little bit of wisdom.
I feel
Yeah.
scared even viewing it as that when no, you do have a kid. I don't. And so I don't know if mine's wisdom, but I will give you my opinion as a
All right,
mental health professional who doesn't have kids.
let's see. All right, so
What?
we have 5 today at number 1 in no
Particular order, like
yeah,
no ranking system.
no particular order. Number 1, common parenting advice that actually isn't as good as you think it is. Ignore the bad behavior and it will go away.
I have a great response to this.
Hit me.
Okay, in schools, being a school psychologist, there was a way people said this that had a great little flow to it that, of course, I'm blanking on now. But essentially, it's like when a child's needs are met, the maladaptive behaviors will cease or they will go away.
Mm.
And so I think that's different than ignoring the bad behavior. I think we need to look at, whoa, what need is this child trying
Yes.
to fill? How can we give them that need in a different way? And then the bad behavior will probably quote unquote go away. But
Right.
it's not because we're not doing anything about it. And I think
Yeah.
we've talked about this before, Danny. I forget the exact for. I swear I'd want to like go do a course in being a behaviorist solely because I'm like fascinated by these things that we don't learn as either school psychologists or as therapists. But when I was working with behaviorists in schools, they were always like, kids, any behavior can be chalked up to like 4 reasons why someone does that behavior. I always forget 2. One is a big one's avoidance. Another one is like when they want something. And then there's 2 others, I believe. I think there's 4. If there's any behaviorists out there, email us, please. But I do think there's 4 major ones. The 2 most often, and the ones I would know because we dealt with them in school all the time, was avoidance and when kids like want things or
Mm.
attention seeking, essentially. And so if you figure out like, oh, that kid's fleeing the classroom because they're trying to avoid this thing happening in there, it's like, how do we give them a way to feel like they can quote unquote avoid it, or that we can like, give them a safe space to regroup for a minute before we reintroduce them to the activity. It's not just like, oh no, they keep running away. Why? Weird. It's like, no, no, no. It's like, we need to figure out they're trying. Okay. The point is avoidance. So
Yeah.
then how do you work with that in a safer way? Or in it,
Mhm.
because it's like, you don't want a kid running out of a classroom and heaven forbid it's a school near a main road or something. So if they're an eloper, we got to figure out ways to work with that. But you do that by figuring out what is the purpose of the behavior.
Yes.
And then how do we feed it in a different way? And so I love all the like, this is all such equation based stuff. And I think that was why the school psych stuff loved it, because it was very like, oh, we don't need to do this or be driven by emotions here. We
Mhm.
can break it down into just looking at what is the equation and how do we solve
Yeah. Sadly, when people take this advice to heart,
it.
ignoring the bad behavior means ignoring the child altogether.
Yeah.
And so, why this isn't great. And so, selective ignoring works for attention seeking behaviors, but we also run the risk of ignoring some serious or harmful behavior that can reinforce or create confusion. Ignoring distress is just going to make things worse. And oftentimes, that's what we identify as bad behavior, thing that is distressing or annoying to us, when that's the only way that the kid can express what's going on with them. That's the only way that they can communicate what they're struggling with, is through something that is rather annoying to see, because they don't know any better. And so I love what you're bringing up. Yeah, like we have to see past the bad behavior, not get stuck in the bad behavior, and see if we can address the needs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. Number 2.
Number 2.
Number 2. Great bad parenting advice is good parents will sacrifice everything for their kids.
Oh, no. Oh, I don't like this one.
Tell I more, Ollie.
No. Maybe it's because I'm innately selfish. No. If I did have a kid,
Mhm.
I'm working out every day or when I can. Maybe it's not as often as I do now. But like, I can't be the best wife. I can't be the best therapist. I can't be the best person if I'm not taking care of myself. And I think this also lends like, okay, sacrifice everything. What does that mean? Does that mean I need to stop working? Or like, what if I now am working drastically less because I feel obligated to, and again, this isn't like if I truly had to, like, if my partner can take care of my child, how much do I risk like this business that I've built when maybe that is also sustaining my family? Like, I just think it can lend people to losing so much of who they are, that
Yeah.
then your child is also going to see that. And they're not going to see like, oh, like mom did her notes at the table with me while I did homework. It's not saying I don't care about you, but it's like, hey, I got to do stuff. You got to do stuff. Let's do it together. Like, this is a part of what we're doing, buddy.
Yeah, I don't think most people are like quitting their jobs or, sacrificing everything about themselves for their kids. I think the biggest thing that they're sacrificing is their emotional well-being. The biggest thing that they're sacrificing is their sense of identity and their sense of self. They're giving that up when they're running with this piece of advice.
But I think this is like a slippery slope. Like, that's why I
Yeah.
don't like it, because you can use it as like a blanket statement
Yeah.
every time you're not really doing things that you used to be passionate about or that you feel are really healthy for you, or you're like quote unquote letting yourself go, or, and I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
mean
Yeah.
like physically, I mean truly just like taking care of yourself.
Hmm.
I think you can always use this as like, well, you gotta sacrifice for them. And it's
Yep.
like, yeah, no duh. Like you're gonna sacrifice a lot. But like, wait a minute. Like,
Mhm.
stop it. Stop that right now. You still need to find a way to shower
Yeah.
every day. Like,
No, I like the slippery slope bit because the way that I do see this working with couples is people will come in, or I guess couples and individuals, parents, they will come in and they need to work on their relationship. They need to make some changes, but they won't do it because it will take away from what they're giving their child. It somehow, like, for example, the kids are in sports and the parents are at odds. They never have any time together. They've lost all kind of romance. And it's like, okay, great. When are we need to get some time back? And we can't. Right now, we're parents. They need to have this and they need to have this. And they're a part of travel ball and they're doing all that stuff. And it's like, no, ignoring your own needs is going to lead to burnout. And it's also going to set an unhealthy example. You want your children to build a strong sense of self. That's why you're giving up so much. But at the same time, you're modeling what you're actually showing them. You're telling them that you want them to have a strong sense of self. But what you're actually showing them is that you don't matter. That when you care about someone, their needs will always come before you. And that's just not a healthy balance.
no. And say, I mean, it's prime example, right? Is yeah, when we get couples that a lot of the times have been together for a long time, maybe have kids, sex. Oh my gosh, our sex, sex life has been out the door forever. And it's like, does this all make sense? Absolutely. But it's like, yeah, if you're gonna have this was gonna sound very, I feel bad. I was gonna say if you have an excuse at every turn, or if you, always have a reason to say, like, oh well, no, couldn't do that. Or like, well, no, we have no time. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
okay, then don't pay me. Like, don't come and work with me. Cause if you want to change absolutely nothing, hey, totally fine. You can do
Mhm.
that. You probably won't have a better sex life at any point. Or if you want to just wait till they're 18 and then they leave and then you want to work on your sex life, we're probably going to build so many other habits in that time, and not having it for this long will create other, issues to face at that time. But you have every right to choose that. That's okay. But I'm
Mhm.
not here to lie to you and say that this is going to be easy or that you can somehow fix this without making those changes. No, innately, something has to change, or what is currently happening will not change.
Yeah. So instead of taking this advice, please model self care and show
Oh,
boundaries.
wait. Okay. This is kind of like what we did last time. So, wait, for number two,
Hmm.
rather than what was the original one? Is
Good parents
sacrifice
will
everything?
sacrifice everything for their kids.
No. What did you say? We like
Model self care, show them boundaries.
model self care, show boundaries.
And I think you really hit the nail on the head with the first one, ignoring bad behavior so it'll stop. Instead, look past the bad behavior, meet the need. And the
Meet the
bad be
need and the behavior will cease.
Yeah. All right. So number three, great bad parenting advice is timeouts are the best way to discipline. Just give them a timeout. And this can look like
Hmm.
not only just putting them in their room, but also taking things away.
I what are your thoughts on this? Yeah, what are your thoughts?
So my thoughts are, here's like my end thing. And we can start with like the alternative to the advice first and then work my way backwards from there. Is instead of timeouts, what I really preach and try to give people is time ins. Timeouts can feel isolating and it robs you of an opportunity to be able to see what's actually going on with your kid. When you ask a kid to stand in a corner, when you give them a timeout and you put them in their room for 10, 15 minutes, what you are communicating to the child is that your emotional experience is too much for me, that it has no value, that there's nothing I can learn from what you're going through. Stop, soothe yourself, and then come and tell me. This kid probably has no idea how to do what you're asking him to do. They don't know what's happening. And even if they are being a little bit of a shit, right? I'm not saying that every child is innocent. But instead of a timeout, which increases isolation, I really like time ins. Or another phrase that I'll give often is connection versus correction.
Mm.
So this time, you can't lecture a screaming baby. This time right now, we need to stop. While we might, selfishly as adults, we might want change to happen or this to be addressed, the kid in their activation is not going to hear it. They're not going to be able to take in the information. Right now is not about correction, it's about connection. And when you have a time in with the kid, what that might look like is I'm going into the room with the kid and I'm screaming into pillows with them. I'm watching them kind of tear their Legos apart. I'm watching them, throw something around that's not going to break anything.
Mhm.
Why? Because I'm showing them that I'm not afraid of their emotional expression, that I am here for them, that I'm not going to walk away. And as they start to calm down, yeah, then we clean up the Legos. It's their mess, not mine. Then we're able to kind of talk through things. Or in their expression, if they're screaming, if they're crying, what if they're talking, what if they're, I might be able to pick up on something that they're sharing that gives me a clue as to like what's going on with this kid. And if you
Mhm.
send them into the room by themselves, you miss out on that information.
Mhm.
So that's where my stance is. It's hard, and this is why having like two parents is amazing, right? Because you guys can just like tap in
Yeah,
and be like, "Hey,
seriously.
this kid can't just be with them. I need to take a walk.
Yeah.
I will come back. I know that this is a large ask, which I think sheds light to the fact that a lot of discipline is mostly for the parent, not so much for the child. But time ins, no timeout.
Okay, random aside first. I almost think I creep people out if I meet them in public, or just if you find out that they're like a single parent.
Mm,
I think I'm a little overly like, oh my God, you're amazing. Like, I think they're a little like, I mean, thanks, but like, why are you this intense about it? I think whether it's the school psychologist in me or the therapist, I'm like, holy shit. I couldn't imagine doing this with one person. I sure as hell couldn't imagine doing this alone. And
sure.
so I'd like to preface that, or just like any single parents out there, bless you in the most non-religious way possible that I could mean it. Just you deserve the world. Okay, next. I like that concept because I was gonna say creating like, and again, like this takes maybe a little bit of money. It takes effort. I'm not trying to pitch that this is an easy fix. But if you can create some kind of like calm down corner or like a little sensory nook
Yeah.
for your child, and then, you give it a positive connotation.
Hmm.
The idea of a timeout, I get. It's like, "Whoa, we're up here. We are red zone. Nothing good happens in red. We gotta come down to green." I think
Hmm.
that's the purpose of it, is like, go calm down, and then we come back. But when it's viewed as a punishment, we know that positive reinforcement helps change behavior more than any other kind of reinforcement.
Hmm.
And so we want positive reinforcement. And so
Yes.
if we can create like a little corner, even if there's one of those little like TP, looking things that they can go in there and just, but they view it as their safe space. So
Yes.
then even you start to create an environment where when kids get angry, they are even like, I need a minute.
Yeah.
And like they go there and they close their little curtains in there and they're like, they have, like little sound machine or something that they can play. There's books they can read. There's different textures of things that they can touch. There's, yeah, pillow they can hit, whatever. But it's like they go, they calm down, and they learn emotional regulation. Like they
Yes.
start to learn, oh, I need space. I need to get back to a green zone. You give them vocabulary that I think is appropriate for their age. And
Hmm.
maybe it's even just like, like big emotions, and they're just like, big emotions. And then they go in their little corner, It's like, but I think over time, those become adults that are like feeling really big things that are like, I'm just going to go take a walk and we can talk about this when I get back. Or
Yes.
that are very good at removing themselves when they feel this way. And it's not because it was forced upon them in the form of a timeout where you need to sit still and not do anything. It's like, no, no, no. Like, this is not a punishment necessarily, but it is like, yeah, you can't act like that at the dinner table, or you can't have these giant, we're not hitting a sibling, but we can't even breach that conversation until you're in a different mood. So they have every right to go and, use things that they find calming to calm down. Like we all get really pissed, And so I think that is a really good way that you can introduce them to a system that even kids start to really like when done correctly,
Hmm.
because they just learn, I have a safe place I can go, feel how I'm feeling. I don't need to feel shame about it. And it's also like no one's going to pop in here and try to keep it's like, no, they need to know they have a safe place. They have the ability to regulate themselves, and then we can try again.
Yeah. Yeah. And all of that takes engagement with the child.
Yeah.
Right? This is neither something that is done overnight, nor is it something that they can figure out on their own, right? Building that little safe place that you talked about, I
No.
think is beautiful. That takes us
Yeah.
figuring out what does work for them to make that place for
Yeah.
them. So, yeah, Check in with your kids, engage, time in, no timeouts.
Yeah, that's a good one. Time in.
Cool. Number 4.
Number 4.
Kids should respect adults no matter what. Respect your elders.
I don't know. I don't- I have mixed feel. See, I feel like I would tell, I don't know. This one's hard. I don't think we deserve respect as parents or anyone just because we are older.
Sure.
However, I do think I'd probably send my kid to school and be like, hey, listen to your teacher,
Yeah.
respect your teacher.
Yes.
Even if I don't fully agree with like what the teacher's saying, I don't necessarily want to raise some really rebellious kid that's like, no. That's just like, even if I'm like, all right, fair, those kind of, it's like, I do think, but inside the home, I think it's more like you need to, God, maybe it's not earn your kids. I don't know how to word this one, Danny. This is hard. We don't just naturally deserve respect as parents, though, I don't think, which is
Yes.
maybe a very controversial statement.
I think there's a difference between respect and being rude. I think that you can not respect someone and still be kind. I think that you can not respect someone and not be a jerk about it. And so when people say you should respect your elders or always respect the adults no matter what, they're the adults, even if it is a teacher. I can't remember where I saw this, but there was a beautiful little story. And that was that this girl was going to school and their teacher was teaching them about blood. And they
Blood?
said, yeah, blood. Like it was a biology course or whatever. And they said, oh, look, the blood inside your body is blue. This is a real story. I cannot remember where I heard it, but it is a real story as far as I can tell. Don't fact check me. And so the kid raised their hand and says, well, actually, that's not true. The blood inside your body is still red, blah, 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 this and that. And she's like, no, the blood inside your body is blue. And the little kid says, my dad's actually a doctor. And there's actually been a lot of research on this and this and that, the other thing. And though that kid ended up getting like a demerit, ended up getting a timeout, ended up getting reprimanded for that because they're interrupting. They're being disrespectful. There's a difference between disrespect and critical thinking.
Okay, I was going to say, I think I'd encourage my child to be a critical thinker.
Yes.
I think critical thinking is a very important skill. Also, this might be really dark, but I think as a sex therapist and as someone who is both fascinated and mortified by the amount of child molestation things that happen in our country and in the world, I would be very scared to just teach kids to listen to people.
Yes.
Because I want them to critically think. I want my child to know if something feels wrong, and I want them to feel like they have every right to be like, no, something's wrong here. So I agree with that. I think the critical thinking piece I find very important. And I don't know if this is another one that we're going to get into, but I feel like they go very hand in hand. When I hear this phrase, like just respect your parents, I think of the very like, do as I say, not as I do. And I just think that that's such an ignorant statement, not because it's, yeah, sure, by default, yes, I wish you would do what I say, not as I do, but that's not how we work. Like kids observe the world and they do what they see. It ingrains in them genetically or it like morphs how their natural responses are to things based on what they saw even before they could make memories of it knowingly. And so to say that to me just feels ignorant because it's like you don't understand how behavior is developed.
Yes.
And it's not to say that we don't wish that, or yeah, there's times I'm going to do things that I'm like, please don't do that. Actually, I'd love it if you do this. But I don't think you could just as a blanket statement be like, respect me, or like, nope, do what I say, not as I do. I think they need to be conversations with kids, or you need to, if I'd want my kid to play an instrument and do a sport when they're younger, because I think it really helps different parts of their brain develop in a healthy way. If my kid didn't love the instrument thing and they were like, Mom, I don't see you playing an instrument. Like, I truly feel like I'd have to be like, all right, cool. I'm either going to learn an instrument with you while you do this, or I have to be ballsy enough to be like, you know what? You are right. Touche. I'm not doing that. And maybe you have a reason. Maybe you're like, but I did do it when I was that age for these reasons. Or maybe you are down to pick something up on the side and model it or do it with them. So, but all of that is like kids do what they see.
Yes.
If you can try to tell a kid every day to meditate and that it's good for them, or you can be a parent that never says a damn word, but at the breakfast table, you sit there and you meditate for a few minutes before you start eating. And I promise you, the kid that sits there and sees it is way more likely to do it than the kid you told to do it every day.
Yeah.
And so I'm also a work smarter, not harder type. And I kind of think these veer on the line of working a lot harder. and being frustrated by not getting a result versus like showing your child a certain level of respect and then teaching them critical thinking and
Mhm.
wanting to get that back from them, telling them to do things that in some way, shape, or form, you're a part of the process
Mhm.
rather than just saying things that you're not modeling at all. And
Yeah.
so it's not to judge these phrases at their core because I do get it. I get that, yes, we should just, I would want my kid to go into a school and automatically believe that they're going to just respect their teacher on day one.
Yeah.
Or like, I will probably tell them to do things that I'm not doing. I get it. But I think at the core, there's a better way to implement some of these things if you want this to be the outcome.
Yeah, I think ignorant is a good word. I think what this critical thinking or this questioning kind of brings out is like just my own stuff that I don't
Mm,
want to deal with. This phrase starts to feel very kind of deflecting,
yeah.
that almost, and I wonder if there is kind of a feedback loop. It almost seems as if like I'm older, I've earned this. I've earned this ability to not be questioned, this privilege to just be taken at face value. And
Mm,
the feedback loop I wonder that happens is because we are so kind of like stamped down as kids that you're a child. What the hell do you know? You're never actually engaged with. Not many of us get to learn. And so with that limited information, we just get older.
yeah.
And now we're older. And now you have to respect me. And it just keeps going like that. You just keep passing down that
Yeah.
legacy burden onto the next kids. Blind obedience makes kids vulnerable to manipulation and abuse.
Yeah.
Teach them respectful questioning and critical thinking. Again, there is nothing wrong with disagreeing with. In that example that I gave you, that student wasn't like, teacher, you're a dumbass bitch and you're wrong. No, they said, excuse me, this is a little confusing. My dad's a doctor. He's saying this. I'm inclined to believe him. And that professor or that teacher ended up saying, well, this is the textbook that we've been using for like the past 15, 20 years. And so if it says it in the textbook, then it
Lady,
must be
you want
true.
to get into what we are not including in textbooks?
Yes.
Shall we get into the food pyramid?
Yes. And so they eventually the story ends with the dad coming in, showing that the textbook is actually very much out of date and asking that that they update their curriculum because we've learned so much.
I'm
It's
also
not
not
even
gonna
that.
lie, I had no idea that the blood in our body. I mean, I didn't like just firmly believe it was blue, but hearing the story, I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know who's right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I thought it was blue. This was common information, and it makes
Like the
sense. Yeah,
makes
yeah.
it, yeah.
That's what I thought. And there's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that ignorance. There's nothing.
Because we're not doctors. We don't know that.
Yes, and if they publish it, well, it must be true. Thankfully, there are people who are always trying to learn more, and information gets updated. So, yeah, teach respectful questioning and critical thinking. We don't want our kids to be blindly obedient because that only affects them in their relationships when they get older.
Yeah.
Number 5, last one.
Number 5.
Last one for today. That if they sleep in your bed, they will never leave. This is talking about co-sleeping.
Okay, there might be people that know I know personally that that is not a true statement, and I have heard multiple people or professionals specifically, like, say to this, like, honestly, if you're okay with it or if they like it or, it's not the end of the world and it will. That is one where, like, just it'll kind of it can naturally phase out or just, like, things change. I've heard people say it's not that big of a deal, but I don't know the actual, like, science and reasoning behind all of it. I just know that that is not a true, like, statement to be super scared about.
Yeah, people claim that it, well, no, I wouldn't say claim. People say that it, what's the word? I'm struggling with words today. That it promotes dependence.
What, like a codependency kind of problem?
Yeah, yeah. Getting to sleep requires a little bit of self-soothing, getting yourself into a position. And if your parents are always coming in and doing the soothing for you, then you're not learning that skill. Safe co-sleeping can be developmentally appropriate, and it could be a bonding experience for people. Age appropriately. Okay. We are not talking about your 7, 8-year-old who's still climbing into your bed. We're talking about your 6-month old, your 4-month old, your whatever. Safe co-sleeping. Another reason why a lot of people are against it is because they're worried that you can roll over in your sleep and just suffocate your kid. Yeah.
I mean, there's issues and things you need to take into account.
Yeah, but you're not gonna build a codependent child because you sleep with them. Me, this might be a little bit biased, but I am gonna try and I do want to be heard as unbiasedly as possible. So yes, I
Okay.
have it. I'm really struggling with this one because yes, I have a kid. I have a child, and I don't want. I want to say that because I want to practice transparency, but I don't want it to be heard as a write off. Like, well, you have a kid, so you're obviously going to think this way. Like, no, I'm being transparent. I do have a child, but please listen to me. I'm out all day. I don't get to spend a lot of time with my kids. Sometimes all I get is the last hour, the last 30 minutes of their waking time before we're all ready to go to sleep. And so being able to kind of just stroke their hair and just kind of play with their hands and be with them, that's the small little bonding time that I get.
Mhm.
If you think about, we're all tired. It's tough raising children. Thinking about what we were doing before in trying to like get them to go to sleep, swaddle them, put them in a bassinet, and pray to the old gods and the new that they stay down versus, holding them, being with them, and having them sleep with us for a little bit. And then in the middle of the night, we'll just, just chuck them into the bassinet. Those are completely different things. My kid can sleep by themselves. They do have naps where they're able to kind of just be by themselves and totally fine. They're developing very, very nicely. And I'm not offended by taking a
Mhm.
nap with my kid. Safe co sleeping, developmentally appropriate, can actually be a very bonding experience. It's not going to just make your child be completely codependent on you.
I don't know if this counts as co-sleeping or if this would be considered co-sleeping. I don't know if I've told you this. I slept on my parents' bedroom floor until I was like 14. I had a
Oh,
room.
I think that
Can I
counts, and
confirm?
that is a very interesting thing.
Well, I just had chronic nightmares. So I'd start in my room and I was like, let's try. And I'd have a nightmare and I was like, fuck this. I'd go I'd drag my blanket in there and my pillows, and my parents would be like, Ollie. And I'm like, hey guys, I would just sleep on their hardwood floor. To this day, I love a firm mattress. I think that is the only way that it really impacted me over time.
See, like, while that is a wild example that we will get into, I'm not letting you forget that one. That almost, like, kinda serves to prove the point,
Yeah,
is
I
that,
know.
like
I think it could have affected me more if they were like, "Girl, get back in your room." I'd be
yes,
like, "I'm scared. Like, I
yes,
just wanna sleep near people.
yes,
Jesus."
like and especially if they're younger, girl, we are returning back to this, especially
Okay.
if they're younger.
I really think I turned out okay in that department.
They don't know any better. All
Yeah.
they understand is that you are their lifeline, that you are their safe
Yeah.
place. And so now when it gets dark, when it gets night, all of a sudden you become like a stranger to them? No, go to your own room. Do like that does not make sense to a kid.
I have a really good example here. Do you know Gabor Mate?
What?
Okay, this guy, he's huge right now. Or he blew up like maybe a year or 2 ago. His
Oh,
name's Gabor Mate. He has done I don't know if he personally has done a lot of research into like trauma. He's big in so he basically doesn't I'm very paraphrasing here. The way a lot of people interpret ADHD, he does not interpret ADHD. And he also is a very large proponent that kids like essentially there are cultures where kids' feet don't even like touch the ground until they're like 3. Or it's like they're constantly being held and like he almost doesn't think there's a way in which overly being there for your kid and nurturing them could be a bad thing. I'm
mm,
really reaching here. I listen to him on a ton of podcasts and I've read stuff he's written years ago. But I find him fascinating for that reason. I think people can think he's very extreme in certain ways. But I don't know if it was he who gave this example, but when I was listening to a lot of his stuff, like there was an example of sometimes parents want their kids to sleep in their room to the extent that they like lock their bedroom door. And it can actually be very traumatic for kids in the middle of the night who are like, sure, maybe they just want cuddles, or maybe they're really hungry, or maybe they, whatever. They try to go to their parents' door and they try and open it and it's locked. And it can actually be really traumatic for kids because they learn, like, they literally start to like go into their own little fight or flight in that moment and they freak out. And it's like, oh my God, I need my parent and they're not here. Like, they're not around. I literally don't have access to them. And
mm.
again, I am not saying that that means every time our kid needs anything, we need to be like, oh my gosh, absolutely. Like, but that was just an example that they gave that I do think sometimes people just view it as like, nope, like gotta sleep on your own. That's the healthy thing. And it's like, well, let's just look at how we're doing this because maybe that could also be done in a way, not that I think we can do anything that leads to your kid being perfect or having no problems or traumas whatsoever. But that's just one example of how that actually could be a way in which it's tried to be done that maybe causes way more harm than good.
Well, I like that one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, please do whatever works for your child and your family. Just do it safely. And I think for all of these ones is there is no one size fits all parenting. Engage with your kid, all right? Your kid is doing something for a reason. What is the need? Going back to the very first one, I think that one might be like the most important one. Meet the need and bad behavior will cease. I
Can I
like
tell
that
you
one.
something really quick that fits with this episode, but it is kind of sad, but it's, I think, a good, like, I'm gonna say it anyway. One of the kids I had to work with as a school psychologist, he was so cute. He was an adorable little guy.
Mhm.
And his family, for whatever reason, had kids before him, spoke to all of them. And I guess with him, they kind of let an iPad raise him. And they literally were like, whatever. We talked to the other kids. We did the parenting thing. He'll be fine. So they literally didn't talk to him. And he became a selective mute. And
Oh.
I had to work with him, and he was in special ed. And he was the cutest guy ever. And he could speak. He just became a selective mute because no one ever interacted with him at home.
Mhm.
And it was really, really sad. And I don't want people to do that to their kids. And I'm not trying to judge any kind of parenting, but that little guy, I think, deserved some parents that talk to him. And I think, sometimes we're not always going to get it right, but I think as long as we engage, just engage and love your kids. And I'm not saying that those people didn't love their kids, but I think that's a very extreme example of what can happen when you don't engage with your kids.
Yeah. Ooh, damn. That
I
is
know. It
heartbreaking.
was really sad. Honestly, I think being a school psychologist was far harder than emotionally for me than being a therapist. And
I
that's why
imagine.
now when people are like, wow, like, how could you listen to people's problems every day? And I'm like, that's to me a little different than seeing the poor kiddos in special education and sometimes how the choices of their parents manifested in their
Mhm.
well being. And so that I think was really, really hard for me to see on a daily basis. So sorry, that wasn't meant to get dark, but I think everyone should engage with your kids. There's no right or wrong way to do it. I don't think there's a best way to parent by any means. And I think Danny and I see truth to all of these statements. I just think we hopefully helped reframe them a little bit in terms of what might be a slightly healthier approach coming from a school psychologist and some therapists.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Of course, Danny. Thank you.
Mhm. All right. Until
See you
next
next
time.
week.
Bye bye.
Bye.